Hold our meeting. This is the Board of County Commissioners Board meeting. It's November 15th, 2022. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Kerner.
Here.
Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Commissioner McKinley.
Here.
Commissioner Sacks. Here. Mayor Weinroth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Thank you very much, Clerk. Commissioner McKinley, would you please lead us in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody, please rise.
Dear Father, help us to be sensitive to what is happening to those around us. Make us aware of the concerns of others and guide us through the decision process that is before us today. Give us the strength and courage to do what is best for all those who come before us. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner McKinley. County Administrator, do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions to our agenda?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, yes. On page 42, 5A1, we have a revised motion. On page 51/52, 5F1 is an add-on per board's direction from our last meeting.
Very
That concludes the add and delete sheet.
Very good. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner McKinley. All in favor, all opposed, show that as being approved 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, we're now going to move on to our consent agenda. I'm going to look to my colleagues. Anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Commissioner McKinley?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull item 3I2, can be found on page 24.
Page 24 that was?
24, yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any items they want to pull? Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner to pass the agenda, consent agenda without item 3I2. We don't have any comment cards on the consent agenda. Do I have a second? I have a second by the Vice Mayor. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, we have approved the consent agenda except for 3I2. Commissioner McKinley, would you like to discuss 3I2?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For a number of years, the county has used some of the CDBG dollars to help fund additional staff for the three Tri-Cities in the Glades area, Pahokee, South Bay, and Belglade, for code enforcement purposes. And I've had conversations with each of the mayors in those cities and their respective city managers about the efficiency of using the dollars that way. And I have a report that staff gave me after our agenda review last night that shows the number of building inspections that each of the cities has done over the years. And you know, I've spent a lot of time these past few years in particular going after what I call slumlords and highlighting some of the living conditions that are there in the Glades. And taking into consideration it was hard to do some of those inspections during COVID, I just want to put the cities on notice, like we've always done, that these numbers better produce results if they want to continue to receive those funds. And I'm okay with a couple of these numbers, but some of them are a little bit low. And I just ask that after my absence, that you all continue to keep an eye and make sure that if we're investing the money, we should be producing results. So I'll go ahead and move approval of this item, but just wanted to make those comments on the record.
Thank you, Commissioner. And so I'll take your motion to approve 3I2, and the Vice Mayor has seconded your motion. Anybody else have any discussions on that item? Seeing none, we're going to call a vote. All in favor, all opposed, show that as approved 7-0. That takes care of the consent agenda. We're going to move on now. All right, I'm going to look, Commissioner Bernard, for a motion to receive and file for proof of publication.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. I have a second by Commissioner, I'll give it to Commissioner Marino for a little bit of the assortment here. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. The motion to receive and file has been accepted. We're going to move on to 4A1. Anybody looking for a presentation, or can we get a motion to approve on first reading to advertise?
Move approval.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner McKinley for a motion to approve on first reading and advertised by adoption hearing on December 20th, 2022, item 4A1. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Am I going too fast for you? I'm getting a look from the clerk. All in favor, all opposed? Show that has been approved by a 7-0 margin. All right, we now have another public hearing. This is 4B1, and I do have 2 public comment cards on this one. Do we need to have a presentation on this, or do we want to just go straight to public comment? Why don't we do public comment, and then we can see if there's any questions that need to be answered by my colleagues. Commissioner Kerner, would you please call our 2 guests?
Thank you, Mayor. We have now, I believe, 3 comment cards on 4B1. We'll start with Ryan Bertels, Florida Development Finance Corporation, followed by Aaron Deedy.
Mr. Bertels, please identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, good morning. My name is Ryan Barkus from 1137 Duncan Drive, Winter Springs, Florida. I represent the Florida Development Finance Corporation, and we administrate the Florida Resiliency and Energy District. Just here to support the program. We've been working with staff on getting the ordinance in place and appreciate the time they spent with us. We are ready to move forward from our district perspective, and also we believe that a resolution or ordinance is needed to move this program forward. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
All right, now we'll have Aaron Deedy, followed by Jennifer Rojo Suarez.
Aaron Dady, 54.5 Southeast 6th Avenue, Delray Beach, Florida, 33483, working with Petros Pace Finance. We are a commercial provider under the Florida Green Finance Authority program, which is created here in Palm Beach County. We are supportive of the ordinance moving forward. We appreciate staff's assistance working with us for a very long time on this ordinance, and we have had our issues addressed, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. This has been a long time coming, as you said. Next,
All right,
Commissioner
our
Kerner.
final speaking card is Jennifer Rojo Suarez, and then I'll have one to read in the record, Mayor.
Okey doke. Ms. Suarez.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members. Jennifer Rojo Suarez with Renew Financial, a residential PACE provider under the Florida Green Finance Authority. I'm just keeping it short and sweet. We support the ordinance and are ready to move forward as well. We want to thank staff for all of their diligent and partnership in working and enhancing the PACE ordinance here in Palm Beach County with additional consumer protections for homeowners in Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
One non-speaking?
Yes, Mayor, from Badia Turkmani. 1.5 years ago, the PACE program paid a company, A2 Contractors, $52,000 for a roof that was never finished because I wanted a fence, but PACE only does roofs. I never signed any conclusion or any papers to put this on my home. I only have sorry, I'm having a little trouble reading it. They even did not notarize my name without me signing along with parents. I never agreed to any of this. Please try to understand where I am as these people, the PACE and their contractors, defrauded me, and I have been paying for it all this time. My home is 1,900 square feet.
Thank you. That will be incorporated into the record. All right. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about this over the years, and looking for some direction now from my colleagues. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to for approve item B1A and B. We've been working on this item for so long, and I think that we've strengthened it and to make it better. And so we've had the chance to speak with the representatives, and staff's worked really diligently. So the motion is to approve item B1A and B.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. And I'm looking for a second. I have a second by Commissioner Sachs. All right. Let's continue our conversation. Commissioner McKinley.
Thank you, Mayor. I was prepared to oppose this today because I have historically been opposed to the administrative fee that will be added to it, but hearing from the representatives, I'm happy to support the resolution today. I do think that we should eliminate the fee, but I'm not going to argue that point when everybody seems to be in agreement today. So thank you.
Okay. A lot of unanimity up here. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. And I will be supporting the adoption for A and B, and I want to thank staff for your hard work and time you put into it. I want to thank our industry representatives for your patience and working together with our staff to ensure that we have the protections in place for our residents, but also the options of how they might be able to finance some of these improvements to their property.
Very good. Thank you, Vice Mayor. And just my final comments, obviously, it's good to see that we've been able to pull this together today, and it looks like we're going to have a unanimous vote. We've sort of pulled this back from the edge. There was certainly a potential for this whole program to get pushed out of the way, but I'm glad to see that we were able to come to a suitable compromise. So that being said, 4B1, A and B are before us. All in favor, all opposed? That's been approved 7-0. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work on this. That's the end of our public hearing. We're now moving on to our regular agenda. My favorite item, and I'm going to look forward to one of my colleagues to take up the banner on this going forward.
Mayor, I think that we need to resolve the issue of 4B1C on whether or not to give staff direction relating to the potential termination.
I think it was pretty clear from the vote that we only wanted 4B1, A and B, but for the record, 4B1C was not approved, and we are giving no direction with respect to doing other than what we just approved.
Just wanted to make sure we were very clear about that.
I think the record is abundantly clear that we're ready to continue in this fashion. Okay, very good. All right, and as I was saying, for my editorial comments, I always have my comments about the fact that we have to approve anything over $325,000 for the airport. My good friend Laura Beebe gets to sit down for a second and hopefully watch us approve this. Can I have a motion to approve 5A1, A and B?
So moved.
And I'm sorry, wait a minute. B is off the table? Right. Okay, so 5A1A. I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed? Show that's been approved 7-0. We're now going on to the second item for the airports.
Sorry. I have a question.
You have a question?
do.
You're holding up the meeting, Commissioner.
Just doing my due diligence, Mayor.
Okay.
On 5A1B, what was the purpose for striking that?
We have it in the 2023 budget. There was an error at the staff level. We believe that we didn't have the full budget and needed to do a budget transfer, but we do have full budget in 2023, so we do not need a transfer.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right. We're going to move on to 5A2, again, an airport item over $325,000. I'm looking for a motion to approve. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by the Vice Mayor. I have a light on by Commissioner Marino. Do you have anything you want to discuss?
I would actually like to give staff direction, our legislative staff direction, to start working with the airport. The $325,000 threshold for Palm Beach International is small, and I'd like them to work with the legislature to see if there's a way that there might be a formula that they can come up with to raise that threshold.
Mr. Von Laren, Mr. Chase, you heard the direction. I don't think anybody up here would have any quibble with that.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
And your motion stands to approve? Okay, very good. I have a motion, I have a second. Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Beebe, all in favor, all opposed? You have your money. Thank you. I'm looking out in the audience. I see Marcy is here, my successor. Congratulations and welcome. And I see a former commissioner here, Shelley Vanna. Nice to see you again. Is that Shelley?
It looks just like her.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought so too.
My eyes are going. All right. She could be Shelley.
Except Shelley's in Georgia.
You could be her doppelganger. All right. Let's move on to 5B1, Engineering and Public Works. Do I have a motion? Do we need a presentation?
Go ahead and move approval of item 5B1.
Commissioner McKinley has made a motion to approve 5B1. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Marino. You may not get even to sit down. Do we have any comment cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? All opposed? Show that it's being approved, 7-0. You've done your work. Your work is done today. All right, we're going to move on to 5C1,
Mr. Mayor.
Housing and Economic Development.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5C1 and states that neither the taxing power nor the faith and credit of the county nor any county funds are pledged to pay the principal redemption premium, if any, or interest on the bonds.
Okay, I have a motion, and I have a second by Commissioner McKinley. Seeing no further discussions, no comment cards, all in favor, all opposed, show that's been approved 7-0. And Commissioner Bernard, I congratulate you heartily on your hard work on the housing bond. Certainly, our county is going to be better off for the fact that that $200 million bond will be available now to attack the issue of housing, workforce housing in our county. All right, we're going to move on to 5D1. This is Facilities Development Operations.
I will move approval of item 5D1, A, B, C, D, and E.
I have a second by Commissioner Marino.
We have comment cards.
Yes, Commissioner Kerner. You keep on holding up this
I know,
train.
I'm a pain in the butt, Commissioner. I've been told that many times. On 5D1, we have Stacy Katz.
Okay, Ms. Katz, you are welcome to come on up and give us 3 minutes of your mind.
Are you sure this is the right?
I'm sorry, Commissioner?
I don't think it's the right
Probably
one.
not the right agenda item.
Oh, really? What agenda item did you want to speak on?
F.
I think 5F1, but I only got the first piece of paper. I didn't get the second.
Okay.
Or do you want to wait until 5F? Okay, very good, thank you. All right, we're okay now. All right, I had my motion and second, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Wow, such unanimity up here. It showed that it's approved 7-0. We're moving on to 5D, wait a minute, got to turn the page. 5D2, and this is going to be staff recommending a motion to approve a preliminary reading to advertise for public hearing on November 20th, 2022, and this is, I'm looking for a motion to approve if we don't need a presentation. Commissioner Sachs has made a motion to approve. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? All opposed? Yes, Commissioner McKinley, I ignored your light. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We're short timers. I spoke with staff yesterday and asked them to include in this review a conversation about modernizing and welcoming us into the 21st century by including different, or at least some sort of option for an app-based payment form for parking, Park Mobile or Pay by Phone or something like that, instead of just doing the credit card machines we've historically done. So I just want to make sure that we add that direction to staff to review that as they review the parking ordinances.
And let the record show that the county administrator shook her head yes. Okay, I'm looking, did I get a motion in a second on that? I did, okay. All in favor, all opposed, show that's been approved. 5D2 is approved 7-0. We're going to move on to 5D3. Isami, how are you?
Doing well. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I have a presentation. Thank you. Can you run that? Okay. Joining me for this item are Purvi Bugaida, Director of FDO's Property and Real Estate Management, Howard Falcon, Chief Assistant County Attorney, and I also believe we have Sandy Mann from the county's Environmental Management Resources Department. Through this item, county staff is recommending approval of 3 separate purchase and sale agreements related to real estate holdings located in the Palm Beach Heights area, commonly referred to as Palmar. On November 2nd, 2021, the board approved a fiscal strategy for the spending of American Rescue Plan Act funds, which included the allocation of $4 million for the acquisition of environmentally sensitive lands. The 3 purchase and sale agreements under consideration by the board relate to parcels located in an area known as Palm Beach Heights, which is part of the Palmar Ecosite. The Palmar Ecosite is part of a large ecological greenway that stretches from just west of the Atlantic Ocean to just east of Lake Okeechobee. The area provides habitat for a wide variety of native plants and animals, and is part of an hydrologically significant region that includes the headwaters of the federally designated wild and scenic northwest fork of the Loxahatchee River. Hence, it has significant environmental value and is considered environmentally sensitive land. The parcels subject of the purchase and sales agreements recommended through this item are shown in this slide, highlighted in black. The county's ownership is highlighted in light gray, shown along with natural areas and publicly owned conservation lands. Palm Beach Heights is an all non-conforming subdivision. Most of its parcels, including those that are subject of this agenda item, cannot meet current land development regulations and are therefore unbuildable. Appraisals were obtained from Anderson Carr, Inc. and M.R. Ford and Associates, Inc., who assigned a $15,000 to $60,000 per acre value for interior Palm Beach Heights parcels, respectively. Callaway and Price, Inc. reviewed the appraisals and concluded a reasonable aggregate value of $15,500 per acre for interior Palm Beach Heights parcels, which is the basis for the offers. As previously stated, 3 agreements have been submitted for consideration by the board. The same allow for the county's due diligence review of the parcels within 45 days of board approval. The county will pay title insurance, policy premiums, closing and recording costs estimated to be $500 for the Harris parcel, $400 for the Couch parcel, and $425 for the Cantillo parcel. The Environmental Resources and Management Department will perform pre-acquisition environmental assessment for the parcels prior to closing. Boundary surveys will not be obtained for any of the parcels due to their remote locations. All costs related to the acquisitions will be paid from existing ARPA funds. These acquisitions must be approved by a supermajority vote, that is 5 commissioners. This concludes staff presentation. We will gladly answer any questions as you deem appropriate.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Marino.
I'm going to make a lot of comments, and while this might not seem like a very large purchase, this is very important to what we do at Palomar. As the chair of the Palomar Water Control District, we've been fighting tooth and nail to protect all of that land. There are several people up there that have actually taken to making this America's playground, and Martin County has witnessed actually people building structures that are, there's no development rights on that land, and I keep repeating that even though people ignore me about it. This property has absolutely no development rights on it, and people are building structures that are unpermitted, unsafe, and Palm Beach County is trying to do their best to preserve this land to what the natural land should be, and this is a wonderful step going forward for us. This is why we set aside ARPA funds just for this purpose. There are other properties in there that we are hoping to purchase. What we're showing is a very good faith effort for all of those landowners to understand what the county is doing and why we are trying to preserve this land. There have been some negative letters that have gone out, and what the county is doing here by purchasing the land that has been well appraised and covering all the closing costs. We are just showing our good faith that this is something that is very important to the county, and I do appreciate this. Is for all of you that don't know, this has been a yeoman's job with a lot of hours, which might not seem like it's worth it, but I do appreciate all that staff has done, all of our attorneys on staff too, because they're there have been many questions back and forth, procedure and time frames, and I just appreciate everything that you all have done in bringing this to the table. I'm hoping that this is just the first 3 of many, so that what I want. Oh, it's gone. Where did it go? Could you bring that slide back up again? Okay, so that middle section that looks like a patchwork quilt with preserve on both sides. Our goal is really to, as much as we can, purchase all of that land in there. We can then do what we are supposed to do for preservation, conservation, water storage, water flow. And then if we can move west and continue purchasing west, it is all for the better. So I appreciate the board's support on this. And staff, thank you again.
Do I have a motion?
So I will make the motion, thank you for reminding me. I will make the motion to approve 5D3,
And I have a
A,
second.
B, C, D, E, and F.
All of them, every one of them.
Every one of them.
Okay, Commissioner McKinley has seconded your motion. Commissioner Kerner, you're recognized.
Thank you, and I'm certainly very happy and proud to support this agenda item, and I thank you for your leadership on it. I just was trying to understand a little bit better how the process works, because it seems like there's so many title holders within the Palomar. How do you engage in the past and in the future? What's the strategy to engage the landowners?
So we actually have, I should start by saying that we have been working very, very closely with Deb Drum and her team from Environmental Management Resources, and they're taking the lead on the strategy. What we have determined based on the lead they have established is a phased approach, okay? So we initially sent a given number of letters to select owners, and we continue to move through the universe of all owners in a systematic way, I'm gonna call it. Deb and her team are obviously assessing properties to make sure that we make the most of that environmental value or aggregate as much as possible, and we're making our way. These are only the first three. We have outstanding letters of interest that have been mailed. We have another phase that is forthcoming just after we complete this one. So we're moving forward through the process, and we do expect to be coming back to the board with additional agreements as time progresses.
And is there a picture regarding what the total cost may be if ultimately we're fully successful in?
We have $4 million assigned under ARPA funds. It is basically a willing seller program, put in other words. We intend to acquire as much as possible with those funds that are available. Any chance I have Sandy present? There we go. Sandy, I know you handle quite well the total ownership that we have in the Palomar area. Can we cover that? I think it will help.
And for the record, please identify yourself.
I'm Sandra Mann with Palm Beach County Environmental Resources Management. I apologize for being late. Could not find the parking space. We currently own 175 parcels within the Palm Beach Heights area. That equals 272.62 acres.
And that leaves potential properties that...
Your microphone isn't picking you up.
I apologize. And that leaves potential parcels that could be acquired? Totaling?
Yes. There are a total of 434 smaller lots, approximately 715.27 acres. The county currently owns about 37% of the ownerships in Palm Beach Heights. We have a higher percentage of ownerships in the area between the two blue crosshatched areas. So we own about a little over 50% in that particular area. So that's where these particular parcels are located.
Very good, thank you. And my final question will be, what type of activity is going out, legitimate or illegitimate activities goes on out there? Well, I'm sure there's some illegitimate activities going on out there.
Well, basically, it's for passive use. So you are able to get to your parcel, which you can see there's a lot of easements and a lot of right-of-ways, but it is passive use. There are not supposed to be vehicles on the property. And for many years, people have been hunting and fishing, walking trails. But lately, there has been a rash of illegitimate I was trying to be very kind. Illegitimate uses, and if you were to take, GIS from 10 years ago to today, you can see the degradation of the land with tire tracks. The people are out there and they are literally just taking their ATVs and going into other people's property and disturbing the wetlands, and it's been a process. And Martin County actually has more problems than we do. But our zoning specifically says this is land that is not developable, and we have had folks that, like I said, have gone and erected structures, which we're just trying to do our best to preserve the land. This is actually a wonderful water connection for the Loxahatchee River, to the canal, to Grassy Waters. This is really something that's very important to the county, not just on a local level, but on a regional level. So anything we can do to maintain it. If we get all of Lemon Grove, I mean, you look at that big swath of land that we now have, it's really important to our county. And being the Republican, now, you know, people think Republican aren't environmentalists. That's wrong. This is really a very important piece for our economy and for our water storage and for our environment and for the flora and for the fauna. All those things that people are looking for, this has it. So there you go.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for your leadership. I recognize the value and importance of purchasing these parcels. I want to make sure that we, as the governing board, if we need to ask PBSO or Florida Wildlife Commission to make sure that these types of activities aren't continuing to happen out there, that we do that, because it can be a very fast occurring snowball effect once, you know, word gets out.
Correct. And if I may, Mayor, Fish and Wildlife, we do partner with Fish and Wildlife out there. They do allow permits for people to get to their parcels, but there is a process for it. We're not keeping anybody out, but we're trying to maintain it as a passive area. So that's what Fish and Wildlife helps us do. And South Florida Water Management is also in there. So there's a lot of different governing entities that all have to work together in order for this to be pristine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerner. Commissioner McKinley.
Well, it seems like an appropriate time, seeing Jennifer Cirillo in the audience, if staff could provide the board sometime in the next day or two an update on where we are with the ATV park out on Southern Boulevard. Seems that might help relieve some of the issues that Commissioner Marino is seeing in her district.
The RFP is on the street, if I may, Commissioner, and proposals are due on the 21st of this month, so in a few days.
Hallelujah. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. All right, I believe we have talked that one out, and we had a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by Commissioner McKinley. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, show that's being approved, 7-0. And I see Commissioner-elect Baxter has also joined us today, so it's good to see Commissioner-elect Woodward and Baxter in the audience, and I guess the newly named Chief of Staff, John Carter, has come back to join us. So it's nice to see you, John. All right, let's move on to the next item. Let's see. 5B1. E1.
E3.
All right. All right, we got 5E1 in front of us. This is fire rescue. If we don't need any presentation, I'm looking for a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Marino. Do I have a second? I have a second by the Vice Mayor. Oh, don't run away so fast, Chief. I mean, you know. All right, so I have a motion and a second on 5E1, A and B. All in favor, all opposed, show that's unanimously approved. Now you can go. All right, we have an add-on. This is 5F1. I guess because it's an add-on, we should at least have some discussion of what it is we've just added on. So, Chief, come back. Do you have a card on this one? Okay. Good morning. Hit your button, you're still lost. You're offline.
Hello. Oh, there we are. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Vice Mayor. Good morning, Board of County Commissioners. Good morning, Mrs. Baker. What we have before you is an item which involves approving the presentation that was made back in September regarding the Substance Use and Mental Disorders Plan update, which was completed in March of 2022. I have with you, with myself, John Hulick, I have Dr. James Green, and I have Aline Hesvid. Highlighting this document, what it is besides the approval, there's one portion of that plan that we felt in and of itself was in conflict with what was already currently in place, and that was the establishment of a group that would be involved in directing the planning and budgeting and other aspects that we felt was already in place with community services. So we're asking the board to approve with that one piece being clarified in terms of the responsibilities currently exist are in place within community services.
All right, very good. Thank you for that presentation. I have no lights on. Yes, Commissioner McKinley.
Is there public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have public comment. I'm very sorry.
All right, Mayor, we do have 2 cards on 5F1. We'll start with Stacy Katz, and then second speaker will be Micah Robbins.
Okay. Yeah, take that one.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stacy Katz. As I said before, when I've come before you, I'm not going anywhere. There is much to do. 15 years ago, I began my journey in the world of substance use disorder and mental illness barriers to treatment. I was mad, and I was determined to make a change. Thank you to all of you, the county commissioners, for all the work you do and continue to do. We need you more than ever. 15 years ago, I met Commissioner Melissa McKinley and was so excited for her enthusiasm and support in this fight. You will be missed, but I'm sure we have not seen the last of you. I'd also like to shout out a big thank you to Virginia Baker and James Green for tirelessly working during our hurricane to not let this item slip and consider it very important, and with the county, we're all very grateful for this. Most importantly, a heartfelt thank to you, John Ulick, our drug czar. He is and has been a fierce advocate and tremendous leader. He has trained community leaders throughout the county to equip them with the essential skills to address this devastating social problem. I'd like to believe that we stole him or that divine intervention brought him here to Florida. However he landed, we are all very, very lucky. John served with Governor Christie as his policy advisor for human services. Governor Christie nominated John executive director of the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction. John has shared his own personal story, and for that, he has embodied humility and compassion, and we are eternally grateful for you. For me, and I'm sure for many others, this is a huge day of hope. We have been fortunate for many, many advocates that are fighting for our loved ones and your loved ones. There are too many to name, but please know that your voices matter. For today, I can close my eyes with a lighter heart and more hope than I have had in years. Our voices are being heard. My dream is that my son Dylan will fill his seat at the family table and smile that smile that I saw when I first held him in my arms. This sentiment goes out to the millions of families that their dreams are fulfilled as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Our final speaker will be Micah Robbins.
Mayor Weintraub, Mayor, we did it. Years of work, years of commitment, years of learning, education, empowerment. This moment has finally come. I'll be brief. I've been up here many, many times. I have learned much from everybody here. Grateful for my new friend, colleague, and mentor sitting right here. But we did it. Commissioner McKinley, you will be missed, but you're not going anywhere. We have a lot to do, and I'm very pleased to say that I can finally retire this purple shirt after all these years. Thank you so much for saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right. I think we are ready to take a vote.
Yeah?
Did you make a motion?
I will make that motion, but I just want to say that, well, I'm glad that we screwed up and had to extend what our last meeting date was going to be by 1 week to allow for this to be the last thing that I vote on. This one's for Johnny. You know, shortly after her daughter died in November of 2016, I did an op-ed in the paper, and I said, you know, we're talking a good game, but we're not doing anything. And this lays the foundation to actually accomplish things. And not sure what happens with these issues moving forward. I have a feeling that there's going to be a pretty strong advocate behind these issues. But this is the foundation. These are the building blocks that we needed. And I'm happy to see it solidified in ordinance. And so with that, Mayor, I move approval of item 5F1.
Very good. I'm looking for a second. I have a second by Commissioner Marino. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, show this has been approved unanimously, 7-0. Okay, that's the last item on the regular agenda. We're now going to move on to commission district appointments. I'll go in district number order. So, Commissioner Marino, do you have any appointments?
I do, thank you, Mayor. I would like to appoint Mr. Reg Miller to the Water Utilities Advisory Board. And if you don't mind, this is the first time that an actual resident of District 1 will be sitting on this board because it's so hard to find. They are actually getting billed by Seacoast Utilities, but the water is coming from in bulk from our water department. So, and this is the first time that because they've been annexed into the city, Bay Hill Estates, we now will have a District 1 person representing the Water Utilities Department. So I'm very happy to appoint Reg to this board.
Okay, the Vice Mayor has seconded it. All in favor, all opposed, show that is approved, 7-0. Any other appointments? Okay, Vice Mayor, why don't you take it since you're District 2? Nothing from District 2. Commissioner Kerner, anything from District 3?
None, sir.
Nothing from District 3. Commissioner Sachs, how about District 5? Nothing for District 5. Commissioner McKinley, any last parting appointments?
Yes, sir. Adriana Gonzalez to the Library Services Advisory Board.
I have a second by the Vice Mayor. Seeing no further discussion, for 7-0. Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Bernard?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. All right, we're now going to move on to the staff comments, administration comments.
I didn't think I had one, but I do have a very good one. In an effort to make sure everyone is prepared for the holidays as they start to roll in on us, Palm Beach County will provide free COVID-19 test kits that will be distributed at our libraries throughout Palm Beach County until exhausted. We know lots of friends and families will be gathering for Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. And this is one way to stay prepared. We want to make sure everyone knows their status before they go to dinners and parties. And so please feel free to stop by and pick up your COVID-19 free tests at Palm Beach County's libraries until they are all gone.
Very good.
And I'd like to thank staff for all the hard work last week in addressing Nicole coming toward us. I don't know what we're doing in Palm Beach County, but it's right. So just keep doing it, and we continue to be blessed by not having the hardest storms hit us. Thank you.
Thank you. County Attorney?
No comments.
No comment. All right, then we're going to move right on to Commissioner comments. I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So Commissioner Bernard, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to do an off-site proclamation declaring World's AIDS Day.
I have a second by Commissioner McKinley. And all in favor, all opposed, it's 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things that I'd like to eventually get an update from staff. We've made the presentation regarding the special pay plan, and so I know legal is supposed to take a look at it, and so I'd love to get an update regarding the special pay plan. And also, regarding the Convention Center Hotel, it's been a while since we've had a discussion regarding what we're going to do with the Convention Center Hotel. I know it's in Vice Mayor's Greg Weiss's district, and so would love to, at some point, get an update regarding the Convention Center Hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner McKinley.
Well, I'll save most of the remarks for next week, but just I hope everybody is going to join us for the Farm City Lunch at the South Florida Fairgrounds tomorrow and learn a little bit more about Palm Beach County agriculture. But today I'd like to say goodbye to Joseph Sophie. Today is his last day in District 6. He will be joining Parks and Rec starting tomorrow. And so very excited about that opportunity and thank him for his years of service. He joined our team in 2017 after Johnny Easton retired, and he's been a good asset to have on our team. I wish him the best of luck. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and I have to say this has been one of the most efficient meetings that we've had up to date. And
You'll
it's just
remember me
wonderful to
for being
see
efficient.
the collegiality of our county commissioners and the wonderful work that has been started by Commissioner McKinley is something that is a part of your legacy for many years to come. And also for you, Commissioner Marino, on preserving the wetlands and the agriculture is not just Republic, it's all of us. This is our land, and it's wonderful to have you there protecting it and making sure that it'll be there for many, many years to come. I'd like to direct staff to allow submittal of a petition for text amendments on the Brookside property at this time so that we can begin a discussion of that, Mayor. And that concludes my comments until we come again to talk about the next step, the next chapter here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Sacks. Commissioner Kerner.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to request for an off-site certificate in memoriam for Cookie Ehrenberg. I know that we were all very close with, or we are very close with our state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, but we all have been very close to his incredible dog, Cookie, who passed away. Yeah, and we know how much Mr. Ehrenberg loved Cookie and loves Cookie, and how much joy Cookie brought into our lives and the lives that work at the state attorney's office and the victims of crime. And so if the board would grant me this honor of having this off-site certificate.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. And there's no objection, 7-0. That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to say happy Veterans Day, a couple days late, but a big thank you to all of our veterans. I know, like the rest of the board, we all attended many events that recognized them and celebrated them. The one fun one that I did was the Tequesta Chili Cook-Off, where I had to taste 31 different chilies, and one of which tasted like an ashtray. So needless to say, I didn't swallow that one. But it was a wonderful weekend, and we just have to remember who our veterans are, and Memorial Day is also as important, if not more. But when you see a veteran, make sure you recognize them and thank them for their service. And continuing on that, a veteran and also a previous mayor of the city of Palm Beach Gardens who had been a member of the Transportation Planning Agency, involved with Solid Waste Authority, Don Kieselewski Sr. has passed away. I would like to request an off-site proclamation honoring his life that I will deliver at his memorial service over the weekend. And you all know his son, Don Kieselewski Jr., who works for FP&L, so I'd appreciate that if the board would approve.
And the Vice Mayor has seconded your motion. All in favor, all opposed, show that is approved unanimously.
Thank you. And one more note, on a lighter note, Juneau Pier, for a lot of people that have been sending us pictures of Juneau Pier with no planks on it, the town removed the planks in preparation for the hurricane. And actually 2 of the planks were lost and were recovered way down south. So the pier is being put back together, so for all enjoyment. And I just wanted to put that out there because I know there have been pictures on Facebook of a pier with no way to walk on it. So, and there has been a tiny bit of damage, but that is being taken care of. And I know our Parks and Rec Department, Jennifer's shaking her head, we do have some work on that too. So, but just, it is still intact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of District 4, I'd like to request an off-site proclamation declaring November 2022 as Family Court Awareness Month in Palm Beach County.
I have a second by Commissioner Sacks. No in favor, all opposed. It's unanimously approved.
All right. I want to take a moment, two things. One is I want to recognize staff in regards to the preparation for what potentially could have been Hurricane Nicole in Palm Beach County. We had a very short window of notice. Normally we get, a few more days to understand the direction of a hurricane and the potential impacts. In this case, it came up within a couple of days. Decisions had to be made and actions and plans put in place and implemented. And Madam Administrator, I want to thank you and your staff for doing the work, opening up the shelters and having us prepared. I'm thankful that we didn't get the full brunt force of this weather event, as some of our neighbors to the north did, but we were prepared, your staff was prepared, and I know our county and our residents would have been safe because of that. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank Commissioner Bernard for your leadership on the housing bond. I think that, as we've gone out and talked about it, we know it's not a silver bullet, but it's another tool in the toolbox that is going to deliver housing to people who desperately need it. So I want to thank you for your efforts and publicly and congratulate you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. County Administrator, you want to have your remarks before mine? Turn on your microphone, please.
Just a quick clarification on the Brooks property and the text amendment. I did speak very briefly with the commissioner just a minute ago. If the board would allow, I would like to be able to bring an item to the board with all of the sordid history on this piece of property and then move forward with the text amendment, as opposed to starting with the text amendment and going through and then, new commissioners finding out things that they weren't aware of, and then I think it would be smoother. It is definitely up to the board on what you want to do on that text amendment, but I think it's our responsibility to give you the full history on this property. So we can bring that item back to the board at the first December meeting, and then we can move from that point.
Commissioner Bernard?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we need to do that. We can just have it all heard at the same time, so in that way, it could allow, we don't have to have a meeting. We can have it all be done at the same time.
I will leave that to you guys to figure out after I'm gone. Commissioner Kerner.
I apologize. I'm not sure what the distinction is procedurally.
Because we've got a number of issues going on. This is a new one, or I shouldn't say a new one, an additional one. There is a lot of history on this particular property, on the Brooks property. It was the linchpin that started with the other bond. It was also the property that we purchased first. And I don't think anybody sitting up here was on the board at the time all of this was done. And so I just simply wanted to provide that information before the applicant, along with staff, goes through all of the text amendment steps. And if the board is, heard it and said, we don't care, move forward with it, then we move forward with it and we work it out the best way we can, because this board has given us some of that direction. But it does take time, a lot of time, to move forward on this issue. This has been one of the last properties in the Ag Reserve that boards not just one board, but boards have stuck together on. So I just simply wanted to lay all of that information out and then move on as the board directs. But if you're telling me to move on with the text amendment, regardless of that, then we will move on with the text amendment.
I guess I just don't understand what move on with the text amendment means. I mean, I'm sure there would
That
be a
means
presentation.
the applicant starts to work on their text amendment, staff reviews it, then we go through our normal process, and then we bring it back to the board for consideration.
All right, well, I'm sure that as part of any formal vote or hearing that this board would have, there would be, as part of that presentation, maybe some historical perspective, but I'll defer to Commissioner Sachs on, it doesn't sound like there's an extra meeting being requested to go through this history.
No extra, we just wanted to lay that out at our first available meeting for the board, which would be our first meeting in December, since we've got reorg next Tuesday. That's all.
Does this board have to vote then to authorize this submission of the application?
So a couple different layers, Commissioner. The portion, and I've not seen a development scenario yet, so just trying to work on some measures of presumption here. The Brookside property has restrictions in place following the county's sale of the property to the current owner. So there's an action that would not be comprehensive plan and zoning related that would need to take place where this board would need to release those obligations. Parallel, the board would need to take up the comprehensive plan and zoning items. So I would tell you that as the text amendments would be working their way through the process, you would have a piece of property that's encumbered by these restrictions. Otherwise, that I can only presume property owners looking to see released. I think Ms. Baker was, what we were alluding to with all this is there is a lot of history. There's a lot that has gone on with Brookside. Giving the board the opportunity, just giving you some measure of background, timing, understanding the transactions that took place, and quite frankly, allowing us to work with the owner to understand at least a basic framework of the development scenario so we can present that information to you. Certainly the board wants to direct us to continue and move those text amendments forward. It's going to require separate action on, by the board addressing the restrictions put in place, separate and apart from the comprehensive plan and zoning ones.
All right, well, I defer and support Commissioner Sachs in her direction today. However that plays out, I'm not really sure, but I defer to her discretion.
Okay, Commissioner McKinley?
Just to be clear, what we're doing is by way of a commissioner comment at the tail end of a county commission meeting, initiating a private text amendment for a future comprehensive plan meeting without any presentation of what that amendment actually is or would do.
May I respond, Mayor?
Oh, absolutely.
I never want to fear the debate. Let's open it up. Let's have a discussion on the history. Let's see where we have already developed in the Delray marketplace. Let's open it up for discussion. I think that it's very transparent. I think that this board certainly deserves to have a history lesson. This was done way before we were even here. And even Commissioner McKinley. So this is something that we need to be informed about. And there is I waited until after the bond for workforce housing passed. And I think it's time to initiate this process. I've spoken to Patrick Rutter about it, and I think that it's time. Let's see what's there, and then we can make a decision. But I think that as my colleague stated, let's have it all together in one meeting, maybe two. But I certainly don't ever want to do this in a piecemeal matter. I think that we need to bring it all up, see what's there, and then we can make a knowledgeable decision and vote on that piece of property.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to be clear what we were voting on. Typically, at the end of our regular commission meetings, we're giving staff direction on fairly benign items, and this one's a little bit more involved than that, so just wanted to clarify exactly what we were voting on.
Well, I think we'll all agree that with the change of personnel up here, I think that the new members of this commission deserve to understand the historical perspectives, and so I certainly will watch from home and see how this goes. Commissioner Bernard, did you have any last remarks on this?
No, just to make sure, Mr. Rutter, so before a decision on whether we should initiate, there's going to be an action that's going to be required by the board first. Is that correct?
You could run the action parallel with the comp plan and zoning ones, but we would be looking for this board to give us a direction, so facilities, for instance, could work on those property and work on any releases, and we could present that information to you. They could run together. I think the point we're trying to make is it's not quite as simple as initiating new text and zoning and comp plan. There's another piece to this that's tagging along with it.
Okay, so at the December hearing, could we just hear, I guess, the history and also what a layout of, like, what would be required? Could we do that or no?
We could absolutely do that. We could give you a history on the property in general, going back to when it was originally purchased, et cetera. Love the opportunity to work with the property and understand their development scenario, and then we can walk the board through what changes would need to be made. And if the board wanted to, at that point, affirm the initiation, absolutely, we can make it happen at that point.
Very good. Thank you. And again, I think in deference to the two new commissioners, I think that's an appropriate vehicle to just bring everybody up to speed. All right, my remarks. Obviously, there'll be some more remarks next week, but this is our last business meeting together, and I will tell you that I am, very happy to have had the opportunity to be up here. This has been the assignment of my life, and I've enjoyed it, and I thank you for having allowed me to be mayor this last year of my term up here. This has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping that you will not forget a couple of things that I have been trying to champion. The transportation surtax is something that I'm hoping that you will continue to consider as the IST is going to sunset sometime in the next couple of years. We have a need for a dedicated funding source for transportation in our county. There is no reason that the executive director for Tri-Rail, SFRTA, should be required to come up here with his hat in hand or her hand looking for money from us and Broward and Miami-Dade to keep the train running. We have other things going on as far as transportation that are going to come up in the ensuing years, and it's going to need money. And I think it would be a shame if we shortchange ourselves and not identify that as something that we can look to our taxpayers to embrace. I think that they've demonstrated a great deal of maturity in embracing the $1 million for the school tax, embracing the $200 million bond that was approved by our taxpayers for workforce and affordable housing. And I think that approached properly, they will embrace the idea of taking that one extra penny on the sales tax as the one that is now there for infrastructure sales and go ahead and allow it to be used for transportation. So I hope you will not forget that. I hope you will not forget the idea of perhaps looking at identifying Okeechobee as a place where we can make things better by perhaps going underground by that convention center that Commissioner Bernard was talking about, so that, like this morning, you don't sit there in front of those tracks for 15, 20 minutes reading the paper. I remember when I used to commute into New York City, I would read 2 or 3 stories in the New York Times before I got through the Holland Tunnel. And we really don't want to be in that situation here. So there's a lot going on in West Palm Beach, a lot going on in an entire county, and I think that we need to look at the opportunities that are there. I am welcoming Commissioner-elect Woodward and Baxter here today. I welcome you and I congratulate you on your hard-won victory. And, we have elections here, and I accept the will of the people. I have never thought that term limits made any sense. I think term limits are a mistake. Commissioner McKinley is being forced out of here today. Well, she'll be gone next week, but she's being forced off the board. The fact is, I think institutional knowledge is very important to this body. And I've always said that the voters have the ultimate say on who should stay and who should go. So I will go because that was the will of the voters. And I think that hopefully, and we toyed with the idea of trying to extend to 3 terms instead of 2 terms. It didn't quite go through, and I think this body should consider whether in the future to try and extend the term limits. Broward has a 3-term limit, and I think 12 years is a much more appropriate time. A lot of the projects in front of us don't get done in 8 years. And so I really think that you should give some due consideration to putting that on the ballot at some point in the future and seeing if the voters will embrace it. And as I say, the voters always have the right to remove someone, and term limits are not the only reason they're going to have to move on. I want to thank my staff. I will thank you again next week, but Lucia, thank you so much for everything you've done. You've had to work through several different commissioners. I know you had Mary, you got Steve, you have me. I know you'll do a great job helping Commissioner-elect Woodward as she is going to get acclimated. And I'm sure, Mr. Carter, you will have some experience from having worked in our office to help Commissioner-elect Baxter in her learning her new duties. Again, I have loved this job, and I'm going to miss it, but I thank you very much for the opportunity to serve. And with that, we're adjourned.